Welcome to the Ledger and the Leader here at BBHCSD. I'm Superintendent Jeff Harrison.
And I'm Treasurer Craig Yaniglos. This is where transparency meets teamwork.
We're giving you a front row seat to the decisions, dollars, and directions that help shape your school district.
No fluff, just real conversations straight from your district leadership.
All right, Craig, so here we are. We said we were going to do this, and now we're finally going to do it. I guess this means it's out there for anyone and everyone, so don't embarrass me, okay? Can you try to keep it clean and make sure we at least come off as somewhat professional?
I will do my best, I promise.
So I guess maybe we should probably start as to why we're even going down this road or this venture, how we got to here being, almost the end of July. So how about you kind of walk us through, since you were the one that created or came up with this creative idea?
I mean, it may have been me. So as you have talked about in the past, our strategic plan, we went through that whole process last year. We were sitting at the admin retreat and we were talking about how we can communicate with our community. We've done a lot of things this year, and I was like, we probably need to look at some video. And it's a great way to interact with our community. Not everyone consumes their content the same way. So we talked about it originally. I think you thought we forgot about it. Yeah. But then I surprised you at a PSO meeting where I launched it and engaged the PSO. So we kind of took it from there a little bit. Do you have more to add?
I just feel like I have a face for radio rather than video, but we'll get through it, whatnot. But yeah, it was. I mean, part of the strategic plan is just getting out to our community. And no matter what school district you go to, the community is always going to say, the school district doesn't communicate enough. And I think it's just a common problem because there's so many media, there's so many modes, there's so many ways and avenues to approach your community that it gets harder and harder. And I think just with the idea of a podcast, just as another form, maybe more authentic, more transparent, where you and I can maybe be ourselves a little bit more than we might be at a buttoned-up board meeting or at a big, large public event. I think what we really want to take away from this is just to continue that level of transparency, but more importantly, just being authentic and being ourselves. So the strategic plan is super important to us because we said from the beginning, we didn't want it just to be a big D-ring binder sitting on a shelf. Because most times when people strategic plan, there's so much work that goes into the planning that by the time it comes to do this work, we're exhausted or we're not interested and we've lost that desire or passion. So our strategic plan was really done in a different way where we have our strategic priorities, our action steps, and we're trying to carry them out over a course of 3 years. But the communication one is important because what I don't want to be accused of is only communicating when we want or need something as a school district. We should be telling our story authentically and being the authors of our story day in and day out because the things that happen in the school district are just simply amazing. Our staff, our students, the support we get from PSO and community members is unbelievable. So, I am excited about it, even though I know I made the comment of this can be out there forever. So, but it's exciting.
In addition to this, we're doing a ton of different types of communication this year, right? So we've increased our presence, especially in the financial information in our newsletter. We've gone around and done the coffee chats this year. So we've really tried to hit and meet our community where they're at in terms of how they want to consume information about the school district, as it's obviously an important part of our community. So no, I'm very excited that we're doing this. I think it's cutting edge is what we're about here at BBH because you don't see this very often because it's hard to kind of coordinate these things. And I want to do something different. I know you want to do something different, and this should hopefully reach a different audience where we can share this stuff on Facebook. People will be able to listen to this in their car maybe at some point. So yeah, I'm excited about it, and I think it's a good next step.
And I think the coffee house chats in particular this past year were pretty successful. For those that don't understand or realize what they were, we met at the Coffee Club in Broadview Heights and the Panera here in Brecksville, and it was the Thursday after every board meeting was kind of the rhythm that we got into. I know we joked with a few community members, they had season tickets, they were there every month, but I got to tell you, I was impressed by the number of people who would come out each month. We had anywhere between 10 to 18 people at each one, and we had no agenda. It was authentic, it was real. What do we want to talk about? What did you think about the coffee house chats?
No, I thought that they were good. Again, I think it's always great when people engage about finances because it's an important part of what we do. But we had very differing topics and different viewpoints that we heard throughout the course of those coffee chats. We took a little break over the summer because we need to rest up and recharge, I guess. But I do think that those were super helpful. They were very authentic. And again, it's different than the board meeting experience where it's just not as authentic as what we're able to provide in those other forums. So I hope the community comes out and continues to support those chats that we have, and then also obviously support this movement as well, so they can get the real stuff going on.
Right, because so many people get confused, frustrated at board meetings when they come and make a public comment and think it's going to be a two-way dialogue or conversation, which that isn't the purpose of that. As we all know, that's a meeting held in public, not a public meeting. Right. So many times people come and make a comment at a board meeting and they walk away frustrated because we didn't answer their question. So we want to make sure that we are in various different places throughout our communities so that people can get their questions answered, which is
because
important.
I think people think that that's the place to go to get answers, and it typically is not. The place to go is really to your district administration to do that. So again, that's another reason why this should hopefully be a good forum for us. So,
well, I guess maybe to get going on this, as superintendent, I know I'm a little bit more forward-facing or the face of the district at times, but as treasurer, you're doing a bulk of the work behind the scenes that help make the district run. So maybe, Craig, how about we let our audience know a little bit of who Craig Yaniglos is and maybe your path to the treasury. And I have a unique story about your path that kind of relates to my personal life that I'll share later.
Oh, that's exciting. Mm-hmm. He's going to try to surprise me on our first podcast.
I am.
So, no, you're definitely right. So when I interviewed for this job, I did tell the board at the time, I said, I'm probably going to be the most unique and different treasurer you will have ever met or hired, hopefully, in your life.
I second that.
Thanks. I think that is true. I think my reputation precedes me. So the reason why it's a little unique is that, as you know a little bit about it, I was an aquatic director. I've worked in public education since I was 15 years old. So I was a swimmer my whole life. I was a lifeguard. I ended up managing our hometown pool, which was a part of our school district, from the time I graduated college from John Carroll in business economics. And after several years, I was basically, after I turned everything around financially for the pool, because if you don't know, pools are super expensive to run. So it took me about 6 or 7 years. We were making progress every year. We turned a profit for the first time, so it wasn't draining, because, when the superintendent comes to you and says, that transfer of $100,000 every year is less books we can buy or less curriculum we can buy for our students, and you're kind of a drain. Now, that drain was for 40-some years. So I was the first person in history of the pool since it opened in 1975 to turn a profit. So my treasurer at the time is who kind of encouraged me, and she was like, Craig, she's like, you're way too smart for this. Like, this is great that you do this, but like you could have such a bigger impact on a school district. So I got my treasurer's license. I kind of sat in the background for a while. I interviewed for all kinds of jobs. Nobody would hire me because they're like, you're an aquatic director and you're a pool rat. And I don't know why we would hire you. I love the smell of chlorine. That's a different topic for a different day. I finally got my opportunity actually at the neighboring school district. So I come from Trumbull County over by Pennsylvania, and Brookfield Local Schools. I don't know why I took the job at the time, but I did. It was the opportunity I had, and that district was in fiscal emergency for 4 years before I got there. I was the lowest paid treasurer in the state of Ohio. I'm almost embarrassed to say that, but I do tell people I was hired for $48,000 to manage and be the CFO for a school district. And it took me 10 months to get them out of fiscal emergency. And part of that was my experience, I think, of running a building, also understanding the processes of a school district, purchase orders, how to balance things, whatever. And then 3 years later, to the day, I ended up starting here at Brexel Broadview Heights. So this is only my second treasurer's job. But it is a little unique because managing a building is super helpful. I was, when you look at accounting, it's so just black and white, which I am black and white, but it's just kind of monotonous. And when you run a building and you know about HVAC and you're balancing your utility bills and your budget and all that, you're kind of mixing all that stuff together, developing capital planning and whatnot to make sure everything's running well. So I think that's helped me, I think, in this career. So yeah, it's kind of unique.
So it's been success being here at BBH?
I think so. I don't know. I think I would question whether or not I made the right choice at the right time, since I started here in February of 2020, right before COVID happened. But no, I think we've made so much progress. I know I've been here a little longer than you. This is now going on year 6 for me. But I think we've made a lot of progress. We've developed a lot of processes. I think we've managed our money incredibly well through a very difficult time. We've condensed buildings. There's been a lot that's gone on here over the past 5 years. So going into year 6, I'm excited. I think I'm someone who constantly challenges myself, so I'm always looking for what's next, what's the plan for next year. So we'll kind of see how that unfolds. But I think it's been successful, yeah.
So what's it take to become a school treasurer? You had a undergrad in economics, I believe, but what does it take to become a treasurer? What do you need?
So typically the easiest route is a business degree. So it's typically pretty broad, but a business degree, and then you take 2 courses, school finance, school law, and after that, you're supposed to do an internship. They've also created, because there's a really big shortage right now of treasurers and qualified treasurers in the state of Ohio, so they've created an alternative pathway. So there's other ways you can do it, whether you've had auditor experience, other CFO experience in the private sector. They have a couple different pathways you can choose to do so. But I don't know if any of it really prepares you for what it is when you start on day one, because day one was pretty terrifying for me, because I was like, I really don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And then you just figure it out one day at a time.
Well, that personal connection I mentioned was, my oldest son, Ty, is going to graduate from the University of Cincinnati, hopefully in December with a degree in finance. And he always was interested in the numbers and finance and investing and different things. But when I'd ask him, well, what's your plan? As every typical 19, 20, 20-year-old say, I'm not really sure. And it was probably 2 Christmases ago. It was during Christmas break. It's a little slower around here because you and I are the only ones here typically. And you said, Ty, ever think about becoming a treasurer? Mm-hmm. So I mentioned it to Ty, and the one thing he says to me right off the bat, he says, will I get that retirement thing that you and Mom talk about all the time? I said, yeah. But that question you asked me about Ty and his interest, I then asked him the same question, and now for the past 2 summers done an internship with Shared Services Alliance and Ryan Pendleton, and has been a phenomenal experience. Mm-hmm. I mean, even today, Ty is in Newton Falls local schools, helping with different projects. Yesterday, he was at Cleveland Metropolitan Schools, so he's getting to see a rural school district, a metro or urban school district, and the experiences are awesome. So I think that's going to be the path that he goes down after December. I just keep my fingers crossed that he loves it, because as you and I both know, because I think both of us are in jobs that we love, and it isn't really a job, it's a passion for both of us. So just your passion for what you do has spilled over into the Harrison family, and hopefully I can continue to thank you for that.
Well, and then he'll realize that being a treasurer is far better than being a superintendent, right?
Maybe. We
don't get to be the front person all the time, which is good.
Right.
But we get to still be a part of those decisions in the background of truly what does make the district run, because everything we do ties back to, a purchase order, a requisition, a purchase order, a check. There's so much transaction that happens, or payroll. Obviously, that's our biggest part of our budget. But everything that we do here is important. So. What would you like to share, though? Because I know you have not introduced yourself to everyone in the school district, even though you did have some community input when we hired you, of course. But
yeah, so I don't know. It's amazing. I'm starting year 26 in my career, which I can't believe how fast it's gone. Whatever the graduating class is, that's how many years I've been, so I can keep track pretty easily. So this is the 4th school district I've worked in my 26 years, hopefully the last. Each opportunity was just an opportunity to continue to achieve different goals that I had set. Started out as a teacher in the classroom in Cuyahoga Falls City Schools. I was teaching American history and AP economics, coaching golf and baseball, and I thought that was my career path. I thought when I got into education, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher and I wanted to coach, because athletics was a big part of my background, being a former collegiate athlete. And I thought that was what I was going to do. But then when I started teaching American history 7 periods a day, all day long, every day of the week, I thought, I don't know if I can do this for 35 years. No disrespect to those who do. It's just my personality, my drive. I just didn't know if that was going to be satisfying. So fortunately, I had mentors along the way that gave me opportunities. So I quickly went from the classroom into something called an activities manager, quickly into a curriculum internship, then an executive director of our district-sponsored community school. And at that point, I thought my dad was going to ask if I could hold down a job, because I was changing roles. It was all in the same district, but I was changing roles. I had these opportunities. I had a technology background that opened some of those doors, which was very nice. But then I became an athletic director. And it was both the athletic experience I had as well as the administration part that I loved. So at Cuyahoga Falls, I was athletic director for the final 3 years I was there. And then I had the opportunity to go to Medina City Schools as athletic director. When I became an athletic director, I thought, this would be a good thing for a couple of years. Well, it ended up being 9. And I will tell you, being an athletic director is the best training ground for any administrative job. You're always in the middle of conflict. You're always in the middle of emotion, so on and so forth. So, spent time there at Medina as athletic director and had the opportunity to become the building principal of one of the largest high schools in the state of Ohio. And it was a great experience for 5 years. And like you, I thought, why not make a job change right in the middle of a worldwide pandemic?
Oh, that's right.
In
'cause you did
August
too.
of 2020, I became the superintendent of Buckeye Local Schools, which is on the west side of Medina County. And I figured, well, if I could do it then, I could do it anytime. And the 3 years I spent in Buckeye were wonderful. The people of Buckeye were phenomenal. The opportunities they gave me, the things that they taught me were just awesome. And as my dad always told me, it's always easier to find a job when you have a job. And I wasn't looking for a job, and the phone rang one day about an opening here at Brecksville Broadview Heights. And I jumped at the opportunity to kind of throw my hat in the ring, went through the process, and here we are.
Here we are.
Craig and Jeff working together, which is interesting because people don't understand what our relationship has to be. I don't work for you and you don't work for me. We both work for the Board of Education, so we kind of have to be in tandem. And I think, a lot of people don't understand that. They either think I work for you or you work for me, and it's neither is true. We both work for the board and those 5 members of our community.
And that's defined in statute, actually.
Oh, now you're going to get fancy on us.
I get fancy on you. No, but there are very clear roles of the treasurer and superintendent in Ohio Revised Code, and so it is really a 50-50 partnership. The board hires those 2 executives, which is why it's such an important role in what they do, and making sure that there is synergy and understanding and a working relationship that can happen. I mean, people don't have to be best friends, but they need to be able to obviously seek common ground and figure out what's going on in the district to make the best decisions that we can make. So,
and be willing to challenge each other once in a while, right? We're not always exactly on the same page. I may push, you may question, I'll question, but I think that's good to have that banter and to have that a solid relationship to where we can ask the hard question without acting like we're questioning one another's integrity or knowledge or professionalism. It's your job is to tell us no. I mean, we joke about that, but our job as educators is to do everything possible for our students to put them in the position to be successful, and your job is to balance the books and make sure we don't get ourselves into trouble. So I know I joke when I say your job is to tell us no, but ultimately you're the one that's kind of the gatekeeper on us to make sure that we're keeping in line with what our community wants, expects, and what we can ultimately, and most importantly, afford.
Yeah, we're going to have to have a lot of conversations later today.
So I'm sure you're going to say no.
No, I think that I always kind of credit my mom because she always said, no a lot. And so I think that she trained me really well for this job. So it's not always about saying no. Sometimes it's about understanding. And I always tell administrators too, sometimes they come, whether it's to you or to me or both, it's just like they come and they just say, well, this is what I'm doing. And they don't sometimes know we don't know the backstory.
Right.
And then they hear no because it's this like, well, if you're not going to tell me about it, like I can't just make up money, right? But sometimes when you hear more about that backstory or what it's affecting or what it's not affecting, sometimes you can like rearrange. There's other different funds, and we'll get to those in further podcasts, but sometimes conversation is just really helpful to have those in-depth conversations about how the funds work. Because sometimes we can finagle some things to get things to work if we understand the why, I think, which is important.
Exactly. We have to keep coming back to that, the why.
Yeah. So, how's your summer going, Jeff?
It's flying by.
Isn't it almost over?
Right. Do you even work in the summer?
Well, I was just highlighted in OASBO. So OASBO is our professional organization. It's the Ohio Association of School Business Officials. And I got nominated, which some people thought was an award, but it isn't. It's just, hey, you can spread all this fun stuff about you. So I answered this survey, and one of the questions was, what question do you get asked the most? And the question I get asked the most, especially in my neighborhood, my neighbors, as you're like we meet people, and they're like, what do you do? Oh, I work in the school. What do you do? I'm the treasurer. What's that? CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Oh, okay. So you like deal with money. Sweet. Okay. And they're like, do you work in the summertime? And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of for me the busiest time because we're closing our fiscal year. So in my world, we're already in fiscal 26, so I don't even really care about 25 anymore. So it's a really busy time for my office in particular. And there's a lot of things that happen in the school district over the summer. I'm sure you can highlight a couple of those examples of what's going on here over the summer.
Yeah, because people ask me the same question. Do you work in the summer? And I'm like, yeah, our business, our operation, with $70 million corporation doesn't stop, when the students leave. We're preparing quickly. I mean, we were hiring a math teacher yesterday. I'm not proud to say we're hiring a math teacher yesterday because it should have been done earlier. And long story short, it was done earlier, and then we just had another opening. But we're hiring teachers, we're ordering classroom materials, we're prepping the buildings, we're doing different projects that we can't do when students are in school, like replacing portions of the roof or upgrading HVAC and waxing floors. So summer is nice. It's quiet. There isn't as many of us around, but it's a totally different pace than the different school year, during the school year. So I enjoy it a little bit because it is a nice break from the typical school day, but there is so much work going on. And, I think we do need to shout out our support services. And what I mean by that, I mean our custodians, our maintenance personnel, even our bus drivers. People don't realize that our bus drivers are in district today, some of them, cleaning buses. When you transport 70-some kids on a yellow school bus all year long, it isn't the cleanest by the end of the year. So our bus drivers are in and taking care of their buses. Our maintenance guys are doing projects that can't be done when students are in the building. The custodial crews, they literally move all the furniture out of every single classroom, strip and wax floors, and just make it the best environment possible. And I got to tell you, working in 4 different districts, this custodial crew does a great job. All of our support staff does a great job, but our custodial crew just gets it done. And, I just want to send out a special shout out to them for the work that they're doing during the summer when no one's looking, nobody notices it. But when everybody comes back, they all talk about how wonderful the buildings are.
Yeah, and in addition to the bus drivers too, you also have the mechanics. So what people sometimes don't know is that over the summertime, you have to basically get all of your buses recertified. The Highway Patrol has to come in and look at all of the different buses, and they crawl underneath them, and they do all kinds of testing to make sure that the buses are safe for the road. And so our mechanics spend a lot of time over the summer doing a lot of those repairs. Some of it gets outsourced, but a lot of it gets done here in-house. So they're also working pretty hard over the summer as well.
So my stomach starts to turn here over the next week or two as we're getting closer and closer to everybody coming back. Many of our principals have the month of July off or portions of the month of July off, so they all are back August 1st. New teacher orientations August 13th and 14th. So we have over 20, I believe, individuals that will participate in the new teacher orientation program, just getting them oriented to our district, from getting keys to computers to IDs to just learning our culture. Then we have convocation on the 15th, which is always, it's like our Super Bowl. As a superintendent, I always say that's like my Super Bowl. That's kickoff for the school year, making sure everybody's ready to roll. Then we have professional development on the 18th and 19th, and then the 20th, the kids come rolling, and then they'll be here ready or not. Our fall sports teams are out there already. You just walk out the door here, and you can see them all over the place. The band, the marching band, when you hear those drums or that drum line, and it's the start of school year. So it's getting close.
So
plus, I was at Walmart, and I don't like it that they put out the back to school stuff like on July 5th.
Right.
I go into Walmart with my wife or any other store, and I see back to school, and it's early July, and I just want to throw up.
Well, don't worry, Christmas will be out soon.
Correct.
So what about your personal life in the summertime? Do you use that to vacation? Like, what's going on in your personal life?
So we do, and my youngest just graduated from high school this past spring. He's going off to Bowling Green here in August, so Pam and I will officially be empty nesters. And one of the first things we said is, we'll actually be able to vacation not on the school schedule, because like you, I work year-round, I have vacation, but I've always had children in school, so we did spring break, Christmas break, things like that. So in the summer, we spend a lot of time at Lake Erie. We have a boat up at Lake Erie, and we try to get on the water as much as possible and just spend some time away. Probably the best thing about the marina that we're in is I have very limited cell phone signal. So
I can attest to that.
By the time I get to the boat, the signal basically gets wiped out, and it doesn't pick up again until I'm on the way home. So it's quite a nice thing, and it forces me to disconnect a little bit.
For you, it's nice.
Allows me to be a healthy individual with work-life
I am
balance.
so healthy.
You are.
Actually, Jeff, you tend to yell at me sometimes because I tend to never disconnect.
Yeah, it's something that I think all of us need to get better at. Our jobs are 24/7, unfortunately. That's what we signed up for, and I'm okay with that. But I think as we get older and we mature, have life experiences, we also realize that we need to take some time for ourselves, which you do a pretty good job of that. You may still be connected, but you do take some time for yourself.
I do. And
I'm like boats.
I do like boats. Actually, they're called ships. You get yelled at that, so I definitely like to cruise. But yeah, if you say boats on a cruise ship, they're like, it's a ship. They like yell at you because it's just apparently so big. But no, cruising is a very relaxing way for me to go. But I also get nice Wi-Fi, which is delightful. I got to keep tabs on what's going on here because what do they say when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yep.
So I got to make sure, we stay on top of things.
That's when we try to make all of our big purchases while you're out of the office.
Correct. And then I have to,
Doesn't always work, though.
it doesn't always work. And then, before I go on vacation,
Everything gets done.
everything gets done.
So anytime you need Craig to sign off on something, ask him the week before vacation. That's kind of in the
Right.
playbook for the administrative team.
Yes.
We all know when Craig's going on vacation, so ask the week before he goes on vacation. It'll get done quickly.
Yes.
Because someone likes to have their plate completely clean when they leave.
Correct. Yes, that is definitely true. But for the summer, though, I don't like to do any of that because, see, when you go cruising in the summertime, there are a lot of people and there are a lot of children everywhere you go.
Okay.
So I actually really enjoy going on a cruise in the winter. It's a little cooler, so it's about cooler at 82, 84.
Right.
Less humidity, less kids. Even less adults, actually, because most people are still working, right? So you do get some retired folk.
And let me guess, it's cheaper, too.
Actually not, well, it depends.
Okay.
Like, because I've tended to travel around, like, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay. So it depends. But it is fascinating, though. If you book a cruise the week before Christmas and then try to book a cruise the week of Christmas, it'll be like $1,000 more to book the week of Christmas, which you almost think it wouldn't be. But I think a lot of people do like to spend, and you will get more around the holidays. You will, again, get more families, kids, and all that stuff that go. But to do Christmas or New Year's, they are super expensive. Some of the most expensive cruises that you'll see all year long. So,
well, thanks for joining us here at BBHCSD Cruising Information Line. So.
That's right. So yeah, that's where I like to do my stuff. I don't do a lot of traveling and stuff like that in the summertime at all. I did recently go glamping, but it's not really my favorite thing to do in life. I like to
get
relax.
us back on track. Let's talk about some of the topics that we may want to cover in our next few episodes. So what are some of the things that you see or the feedback we've gotten from some of our community partners as to what they'd like to hear and see from us?
Yeah, so we engaged our PSO. We did a survey, right? And then we had them give us some suggestions.
Yeah.
And so fascinatingly enough, everyone loves to hear me talk about the budget and things like that, but there's also some non-budgetary components in the budget items. So I think we're going to definitely, after all the dust settles, is talk about the budget of House Bill 96. Yep. Once these vetoes, maybe potential vetoes, maybe not, gets decided, I think we need to probably educate the community on what's all in that bill. We'll probably dedicate some of our time to also, as a part of that, school choice and school vouchers. Campus master planning has been a hot topic item. And then also curriculum has been also kind of one of the items that's probably in our top 3 list of things we need to talk about. And then we also plan to have some guests, right?
Absolutely. And I think with curriculum, we could bring Dr. Martin in. He's like the mayor of Brecksville, Broadview Heights.
We'll need that podcast to be how long? 3 hours?
3 hours.
4?
Yeah, if there was a city that was Brecksville and Broadview Heights together type of thing, like the school district, Dr. Martin definitely would be the mayor. He'd win hands down. He will be an extremely popular guest. And I think that's one of the things about this district that I find so refreshing. Our communities care about what we do in the classroom. Not every school district can say that. Sometimes school districts' communities have their priorities in different areas or on different topics, but our communities want to know what's happening in the classroom and what their children are learning and what we are teaching. And that gives us immense pride in showing what we do because we believe we do it well. We are always looking to improve, as Dr. Martin will tell you, but that drives us. As an educator, that drives me. When I know that our community cares deeply about what we're doing in the classroom, it gets you out of bed every day ready to go. It's just a goal to continue to achieve. So yes, curriculum will be very important. Campus master plan, absolutely. I think that's something we'll talk about because hopefully maybe in the next couple of episodes we'll be having a road go in behind the board office here and at least starting that process. It's been going for about a year, but we're getting closer and closer to breaking ground on that project, which I think then just kicks off the whole conversation about campus master plan. We have a beautiful campus here at Brecksville Broadview Heights, but there's not a lot of rhyme or reason. And I think just over years it's been pieced and parted together with not really an identity. And I think the campus master plan, we want to have an identity at our campus, and we want to have a campus that our communities can be proud of and can be the center and bring the two communities together. So those will definitely be topics that we will cover. Things like cell phone policy, because that budget bill is more about, there's more to it than the budget. We talk about things like driver's ed and cell phones and all kinds of things that isn't necessarily related to the budget, but it gets jammed in there at the end. I'll stop before I go any further on that commentary. But there will be a lot to talk about the budget bill.
Yeah. And of course, part of that budget bill also was maybe some school levy things. And obviously we're going to have that conversation probably as well as what will be, our next plan of what's going to happen. As we know, so last year we obviously deficit spent. We will be on that downswing of the levy cycle. But given this new legislation, we're going to have to figure out as a district what's the next plan in conjunction, obviously, with the campus master plan, which is super exciting when you see some of those renderings.
Yeah.
Like, it does make me pretty excited to see that hopefully the community will embrace that idea and support it, because it really will give this campus a lot more identity if we can get through that process.
And something we haven't talked about but probably should venture onto is, November, we have a couple board members, board seats that are up for re-election or just are open, and we're starting to hear names, and people are starting to file their petitions or run for school board. Well, so many times we find that a lot of people don't necessarily understand what a school board member does. So maybe that would be a good guest one time too.
Yeah.
Mr. Dosen or someone along those lines that could explain the role of a school board member and the role that they play within our school district.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a really good topic, because I think, again, it goes back to the whole treasurer superintendent piece. It's what is the board's responsibility? And they have oversight, governance, but it really is focused on that governance piece. And it'd be nice to hear from their perspective, how that plays into everything versus our job is really the day-to-day.
Right.
So it's a big differentiating factor of getting our community to get to the right people at the right time. So yeah.
Sounds good. It sounds like we have a ton of topics we can talk about over the next couple of weeks and months.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can actually pull this off and this turns out okay, we can do this more often.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
And then I at least have it on tape, the things that you say to me, so I can prove to it that you either said yes or no to my request.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that it's going to be recorded. Can we have an automatic detonate button after this
No,
message
I
will
told you
self-destruct after so long?
When you came up with this idea, we're going to be out there forever now. So, years from now when we don't quite look the same.
I plan to look the same, Jeff.
Right. No, we'll have to go back and say, look how young we looked.
Yeah, that's true. But the question will be is how many people decide to, steal this idea and decide to do what we're doing now.
We'll have to see. We're trying to set the bar at BBHCSD
That's right.
to not just, do it just intro level. We're trying to be experts at it.
That's right.
That's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of work on our team's half to help make this look good. Well, I don't know about you, Craig, but I first want to thank our PSO. Right, because we came up with this idea, you came up with this idea, and they are the ones that really gave us a little bit more energy and motivation to actually do it. And I don't know, if people don't realize what our PSOs do in our district, they're missing the boat, because there's a lot of things that happen for students in our school district that would not happen if it wasn't for our great PSOs.
No, they do a great job. So, thank everyone for listening. I think that, hopefully you'll share this content, give us feedback. We've got our email, our contact information on our website. So make sure that if there's a topic that's burning, come see us at a coffee chat as well. But definitely send us that feedback, and we will try to incorporate that into some of our future podcasts. I think that'd be
Absolutely, because we do this
idea.
for the community, and we want our community to know what's going on in your schools, and we want to be a partner in educating our children. And just can't thank you enough for the support you provide us every day and every year. So thank you.